will be seconds from now.
We are live.
For the final post-game show of the season. A
No!
long season that began 12 months ago and ends,
Truth.
late September 27th, time of death, call it. Celtics.
Mhm. The
Celtics
bubble has
died
popped.
from no
Bubble
heart.
has popped for the Celtics.
Yeah. It happened again. They couldn't close. They couldn't win a close game. It plagued them all playoffs long. This was a good game. It was a fun game, but they go down to the Heat 125-113. The season is over, kid. Initial reactions again. We're going to spend a lot of time on this fourth quarter. Celtics were up 6.
Do we have to?
Celtics were up 6, and then they were down 10, like that. It was incredible. They lost a 6-point lead in about 4 seconds, and then they didn't score again for 3 minutes, and that was it. I've never seen a game go from looks like they're about to run away with it to it's over in the other direction. I don't know. Josue, start with you.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, John, it was Miami for the taking here. Even if the Celtics were able to counter some of those possessions, the Miami Heat, Tyler Herro caught fire, of course, but, Audrey Iguodala caught fire, of course, but when Herro gets going in that fourth quarter and you got guys, chucking up threes on the other end, and I know I don't mean to just chalk it up to just that, but the Miami Heat came out in that fourth quarter and they hit the Celtics when they least expected it. And the Celtics sort of just mentally, they looked like they were just tapping out. They tapped out. Like, let's face it, those 3-pointers that you saw in that fourth quarter, that was the Celtics just saying, look, we're going to just shoot for it here, and we're going to tap out, and hopefully if one or two of these fall through, then we can make it a game again. But the timely defensive stops, man, how many of those did we see throughout the entire game? That last one that pushed the Celtics lead, the biggest lead of the night, to 6, they never got another stop after that. It was always about the defense, guys, always. Daniel Tice fouled out. That's when it was really starting to be all downhill from there. And then the defense that we saw throughout the first 3 quarters, Miami Heat just really got in that groove, and the Celtics just couldn't stop them.
They did, and we worried about this the whole time. We said, hey, they've lost 3 games, and Miami hasn't had its good shooting game yet,
Yep.
and which meant it had to not come. And it came, and they were still in a position to win it. Again, Josue, all of that stuff is true, and I don't discount it. But you took Miami's best punch, and then you took a lead. So all the stuff that happened prior to that is all fine and good, but you could have reached that point in the fourth quarter having both teams played a crap game and the Celtics take a 6-point lead. Anything that preceded that almost doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, but this is Bam Adebayo.
You can get there ugly, you can get there pretty. Again,
none of us anticipated Bam to do that. Whether he was 100% from the bomb that he dropped a few nights ago, or whether he was at whatever percentage, you didn't expect him to go off the way he did. And when Daniel Tice fouled out, that was the beginning of the end. Let's face it. Putting Grant out there, Grant's not going to close out the game. I don't know if
he's not. But first of all, the 6th foul on Tice was garbage. It was so late. Adebayo had already gone over.
And Brad was trying to get him out before that possession happened.
Was that on the drive or was that on after? Because whatever happened
on the drive, and then Adebayo went over the back.
I thought they called over the back on Adebayo. Yeah,
That's
me too.
what I thought it was so late.
There was a foul early in the game that happened on the exact same kind of play too.
Right. Like 2 seconds after, they're like, it didn't go in.
He needed Tice to stay in the game, and he clocked in, 20 minutes tonight, and he couldn't stay on the floor? It's just bad. It's a recipe for disaster.
I said it.
Prediction of him fouling out every single game. He could have fouled out. If they weren't counting fouls, he would have had 50. If there was no fouling out, he would have fouled like 14 times tonight.
Right.
Yeah, and we all know he gets a tough whistle, but it got out of control in the series.
He was spazzy.
It took them out of the series because they didn't know who their backup center was in the series, and we talked about it all series long. Who was going to be the guy in the middle? Grant comes in for 2 seconds after that. Then they go best 5, and it melts down from there. Not only because you can't protect your defensive end with that group, but the offensive approach opens the door for a bevy of Miami transition runs, and the game got out of control. Your best 5 lost you the series when you needed the most.
Well,
it's just not a lineup that's going to work.
Best 5 is a name, and it doesn't apply to the 5 players on the floor during the best 5 because Hayward was garbage. Hayward got worse every game. Since the first game.
And what can you say? Because if he doesn't come back, you probably don't even get to this point. But
I know, but
he collapsed after that. Yeah,
he did. But he got worse and worse. He was awful tonight.
He was. And look, I was talking about it, a few games ago. I didn't like, Brad putting him out there at the end of games, clocking in over 30 minutes. But, I mean, he was really –
He had no choice.
You needed to put Hayward out there this game. And you're right. Game after game, he just looked worse and worse. And the Miami Heat looked like they just capitalized on it.
The Celtics weren't going to win this game once Tice got into foul trouble early in the fourth, once Kemba got into foul trouble, because they don't have enough players. And we talked about it all year. They're extremely thin. The guys in their rotation aren't always reliable. And if you were going to lose two guys, as they almost did, you almost had nowhere to go. You saw plenty of Brad Wanamaker minutes throughout this one, and it went horribly. You saw Cantor for the good and the bad throughout the portions of this one. You can say what you want about Brad and the rotation management throughout this one, but he didn't have the bodies lower on his bench to manage his team as they got into foul trouble deeper into the postseason. It shouldn't have collapsed like this. It was a mental and physical breakdown of the team, it appears, after all the minutes, all the hits that they've taken throughout this game. But they didn't have bodies to sustain when they got into foul trouble, when they got tired. I mean, this group logged some insane minutes throughout this postseason run. I'd say, Tatum, Brown, those guys had to be among the minutes leaders in the postseason to this point.
How fitting is it, though, that Hero goes off the way he did in this one to end the game when the Celtics, to your point, Bobby, they've never had a bench. It's the bench. If you compare them to most, or at least most of the teams in the play, just didn't have that bench. And Tyler Hero ruling over on draft night, he closed them out. He closed them out. Bam Adebayo had a significant this game, obviously a huge part on both ends. But Hero's the one that closed you out. And when the Celtics panicked, they started triggering from behind the arc.
Bit of a perfect storm too, because you're looking at Iguodala will never hit five. Will never hit four. He won't hit four threes in a pickup game for the rest of his life. Okay, and that happens. Adebayo was getting insane bounces. Like there was just a ton of stuff falling the Heat's way. And again, I keep coming back to it. They withstood it to the point that they took a lead in the fourth quarter. So again,
That's what we get for making fun of Iguodala. Remember all that trash talking we were talking a couple nights ago?
No, he kicked us all right in the mouth tonight. The 3-pointers, the cuts, he was phenomenal. And you know what? I saw it in that regular season game that these two teams played. He didn't do anything all game, and then he came in crunch time and had a putback dunk, a huge offensive rebound. I mean, he's timely. And they manage him because he's 36 to only play like a few spurts throughout the game, and he makes the most of them.
It's frustrating. The series was
to the
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say Iguodala was to the Heat what the Celtics needed from Hayward. They didn't get that extra production from that, sort of like a bonus player. And Hayward, as many minutes as he was kind of thought of as a bonus guy to come in and give you what you've been missing offensively, sort of set the tone as a ball handler, distributor. And you didn't get that the way you wanted, at least after the first time he played. I still would take Hayward over some of the minutes that would have been distributed elsewhere, whether it's Shemi or Wanamaker, whoever else takes those minutes. I don't think Hayward was that bad. I mean, but he just wasn't able to give you what you needed. I mean, we're all going to think back to that little bunny layup that he missed, and that's going to kind of sum up the last couple games for him. But I want to say this to all the Heat fans watching and to everybody else watching. This is a fake season. So this win means nothing to the Heat or to whoever. Fake season anyways, and the Lakers are going to win this in 4. So if you're a Heat fan,
I disagree with that one.
You can enjoy it tonight, but it's complete garbage as far as I'm concerned.
Look, again, I'm going to go back to it. We could dissect tonight what happened. Bam, all
We're
of
back
that
to the finals, right? We're going to watch the finals together.
The fourth quarter.
I hope so.
The series was lost in games 1 and 2 when they pissed away the opportunity to at least come away with a split there by blowing leads. Because again, you gave yourself no margin for error here.
That's what kills you about this, because when the going got rough, it felt like this team just kind of hunched their shoulders, got down on themselves a little bit, and that's emotion. That's a combination of emotional immaturity for a pretty young team. As we've said, they would have been the youngest finals team ever, and a lack of core leadership here. Like, who's going to be the person in those moments to rally everybody? In those final 4 minutes, you just felt the lead kept slipping and slipping and slipping away, and everyone's just like, like as you say, John, like it's just whatever.
But this is what
that's the problem. You're either that's where they suffer from. Either each person tries to do it all by themselves and get it all back at one shot, which results in them taking taking hero shots and jacking threes. I don't think it's lazy. I think it's like, I don't know what to do, but if I make this three, everything's going to be okay.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the vibe. But then you got to make them. So Kemba missed every shot in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's what he's there for. He's supposed to be a fourth quarter assassin. Before it got away from them, he had 3 open threes. You make one of them, you stop the bleeding a little bit. He just missed shots.
Yeah,
so
it was
I
frustrating
don't
too.
know
They were
whether it's leadership or not, but you're paying this guy to come in and hit these shots in the fourth quarter, and he didn't. You know,
yeah, they were makeable shots too. That was most frustrating.
Makeable. You know, it wasn't straight hero ball.
That 6-point lead, I never thought was going to be sustained. But you're thinking, okay, you have at least a cushion for the Bam Adebayo fouls or the trip to the free throw line, so that they get into the bonus like we all expected. And then for a shot like that, for an opportunity like that, let's say Celtics are only out by 2, and Kemba knocks down a 3. Like he's done that so many times throughout the course of the regular season. But this postseason, he wasn't himself. It wasn't just in this series.
At all, and
Kemba just wasn't himself. Health reasons or the pressure of the moment, the bubble, all that could be part of it. But at the end of the day,
he was another guy, Joe Sway. I mean, you were right about the Hayward minutes. Like they piled up too many minutes on Hayward, and it feels like it caught up to him after that first game. We all knew how dead he was after that first performance when he grinded out. They did the same thing. They did the same thing to Kemba. He was pushing, 44, 45 minutes in a lot of these games, and this was a guy they had to come into the bubble managing. It probably caught up to him. And I think, Tatum, Brown, those guys could handle it. The guys on the back end who, are older, who have gone through a lot more physically, even Tice for that matter, a guy who's had a knee surgery, they press these guys like crazy. And that's like... Yeah, the bench performance didn't kill them. They had guys step off the bench in terms of performance, but the trust of the bench, which Stevens clearly didn't have when you see how he managed this rotation, caught up to them.
Yeah, but that's not why they lost. They lost because they got back to shot chucking. They took 46 threes tonight. They shot 33%, and they only got to the line 15 times. And I'm obviously kidding about this bubble meaning nothing. It meant the world. I mean, I've been saying it. It's harder to win in the bubble, I think, than a regular season. And I think whoever wins is going to have, the most unique championship and so much hard work went into it. But the opportunity was there for the Celtics because we said it in the Raptors series. The Celtics seem to be more talented. We said it in this series. When the Celtics play well, they seem to be more talented than the Heat. But the Heat figured out how to play team ball. They let guys step up when they needed to. Jimmy Butler, it looked like it was going to be a Jimmy Butler game early on in this one, but late in that fourth, there was other players stepping up, whether it was Robinson, whether it was Hero. They seem to have guys not sort of fold in the moment, whereas every time the Celtics got into crunch time, they tried to get back into the game, like John said, like in one shot. But that's not how they got to this point. They got to this point by whipping the ball around, by being aggressive, by driving to the hole. And then when they get behind or when it's a close game, they all just want to fix everything with one shot, and they don't have enough good shooting to do that.
Go play by play from the 6-point lead up until it was a 12-point lead from the Heat. They didn't take a shot. They took one shot. A 12-footer was the closest they got. And
Brown got in the lane once it was over too.
It was over. Every shot from
the point
quickly. That they were up by 6 was a jumper, a long jumper, or a 3.
Is that fatigue? They're never going to say it is, but is it?
It shouldn't be. They shouldn't be any more fatigued than the Heat. They're all professionals.
The Heat
They're
have
all playing
10 guys.
in the bubble.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a good point.
I don't think it's fatigue. I don't think these guys are professional basketball players. I'll have to look and see what their minutes were, but
no, but I mean, it's not just tonight. It's 3 series.
Yeah, I think we're talking about in general.
Yeah, it's the entire playoff run. And the Heat had a 5-game series against Milwaukee where a couple of the games were blowouts.
I don't think
it's not fatigue. That's an excuse.
Bobby, they did it.
They're not traveling.
They did it
just chilling.
every step of the way. It wasn't just in this game or early in the series. It was every close game that they were in against Toronto and Miami. The whole way through, they did the same thing. So I can't say it's fatigue.
Yeah, and it happens at the beginning of the games, too.
It happens always.
Lack of execution.
The same start and or this inability to close where they get out of their offense and everybody starts jacking threes. It's just bad habits. I don't know if whether it's, like I said, like Jimmy said, a lack of leadership, defined roles. Again, this is always
defined roles.
The blessing and the curse of the Stevens system. Like there's empirical evidence to show you that they do well in games Marcus Smart shoots less than 10 times and very poorly in ones where he shoots more.
I'll give it to you guys a little bit on that one tonight.
Which means that Marcus Smart needs to be told entering the game, this is your role. I don't want you taking more than 7-8 shots. When it rotates to you, hit your threes, take your shots, but don't go looking for your offense. Okay,
it's so
the only player who shot more than
22
Everyone's got to have jobs. You know
what's so tough on that too, and a lot of people will be saying over the next couple of days, trade Smart. It's the easiest option. He's a tradable contract.
He has great value, way more value to you than anybody you could get in his place.
That's the thing. The defense. You need the defense.
But he just
somehow you need to
stay in his lane.
Yeah,
but Bobby, you need the defense. But then he takes 22 shots. Now he's
it's
no
tough.
longer worth the defense. He's no longer worth the defense.
The other side of that too is he's most effective when he's being fearless, almost reckless offensively. Like he's not a guy who's going to have a nice contained game. He'll have a couple of those a season, but he's the yes, no, yes guy. Like he's like you have to live with it to some degree.
13 3-pointers. 13 3-pointers.
You
that's
do.
That's Klay Thompson numbers.
Like when he went rogue the way he did, I just had a bad vibe from him. I'm like, look,
it
could be good, which it looked good, right? In the first quarter, it could be good, it could be bad. It could benefit the Celtics, or it could burn you in the end. And tonight it burned them.
I said it after the second make. I was like, I hate this.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah.
When Marcus makes them early, that means he thinks he's got the green light all game. Like I said, it's the singles hitter that hits a home run, then he's swinging for the fences. Like it's bad for him, and you can see it was affecting his decision making because he knew I've taken too many shots and I've missed the last few. And then he started swinging it on open looks because he was like, I can't take another, can I?
Yeah, you know what? You know what? You can blame Marcus for this, but we have to talk about another slow Jason Tatum start. Somebody has to score in the first quarter. I'm not going to knock Marcus Smart for hitting a few threes in the first quarter. When Jason Tatum once again goes 0 for until the 8-minute mark of the second quarter. I mean, this guy just refused to show up in the first half of any of these games this series.
I'll give him a
somebody has to take that role.
I've been the one talking about what he does in the second half matters most, but I hate to say it, this game, if he comes out differently, if he scores, if he converts a few of those or gets to the free throw line, maybe this ends differently, or at least maybe we get a game down to the wire where the Celtics have a fighting chance.
So on Tatum, I felt a little better about his start tonight because all the creation he was doing. He had 8 assists in the first half. The rebounding was strong.
Sure.
We got to talk about defense, though, because I felt like they beat themselves defensively as much as they did offensively in this. And he comes into that. I mean, he didn't have the blocks to help, the closeouts, all the different stuff you expect from him defensively. And a lot of guys in this series lapsed defensively. You think of Tyson transition. He didn't have that great transition defense series. You saw Tatum jumping over shooters on the shot fakes. A lot of guys doing that. I mean, they got smoked offensively in this one. What kills me most, they're a good defensive team. And to see them pressured in a way by certain guys where you have to move smart and help and all this other stuff to give Iguodala and like guys like that wide open threes. I mean, the only reason to a large degree that the Celtics stayed in this defensively is because Jay Crowder was missing every single open three he took. And as he did
stop playing.
As he did the last 5 games. Like, why is there so much pressure on the Celtics defense that they're doubling certain guys, that they're hedging, that they're leaving a fifth man completely open? And that's where Iguodala killed them tonight. Like, the defense was not up to par. It wasn't the Toronto series. Great defensive series. Here, like, it just felt like they were constantly under pressure and being forced to help and hedge and all this different stuff.
That's just getting outplayed, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's face it, we saw 6 examples of that. Even the game that the Celtics won, or the 2 games that the Celtics won, they had to fight and they had to do things that we hadn't never seen them done in this series, and they just were unable to repeat that. It was like the story of halves, except for in this game, I thought the Celtics were going to actually pull through because they were. The both quarters that they combined, well, at least the beginning of the fourth quarter, they just looked like a different team, or at least defensively. Yep. The timely steals, whether it was Jalen,
they were so good between the third and fourth.
Man, those times when they gambled and it paid off, I think it made a huge difference, and it gave them their biggest lead of the night, which was 6 points.
Going into that fourth quarter, we all felt pretty good about the Celtics' chances. The way that they closed out the quarter, the way they were, started out the fourth. Jaylen Brown goes up, gets kind of knocked by Jimmy Butler.
Oh, and I hated that. Oh, man.
And
bad stuff.
tenor kind of changed after that almost.
And then Butler later in the game swings out the arms on Smart and gets a technical. I mean, it was such a disgrace the way the refs handled that situation.
He's
not calling anything. It was such a travesty. That's the worst foul you can commit in basketball, and they didn't even call a foul. Brown's there begging him, injured on the ground for something, and they just think like. Are you kidding me? I know Butler tried to avoid it, but he still goes full speed into him. That should have been a review for a flagrant 2. I truly believe he should have been kicked out. Like that's I'm not a big
of that type of a play.
You guys know I'm not a big ref guy, but that's a play that's out of the question. You cannot do that.
I was surprised he didn't get at least one. That
was a travesty.
But it kind of felt like that's when things sort of changed shortly after that. I don't know if that was just coincidence or what, but like we said, the last 6 minutes of that fourth quarter was just complete garbage. It was almost like the start of the game. Again, the start of this game, just chucking threes to start the game, going down early. I don't know how did it get to double digits there in the first quarter. It got close. I think it was at least 9 I saw at one point, but it's like they started and ended the same way. Just throwing up shots, praying that they fall. And really, there's no way to get into a rhythm that way,
Yeah, biggest Heat lead was 15.
And then the Heat would get on those misses. The Heat would push it on the other end, and down the stretcher in the fourth, they were getting to the rim. They were transition. They were stringing together offensive possessions, and the Celtics were just going back down, shooting the 3, missing. He would go back down in transition. And honestly, if that's the way they wanted to go out, I thought it was kind of fitting because they've been their Achilles heel in this bubble, especially in the last 2 rounds. So, I think the better team won this series, and the Celtics deserved to go home because they got this far playing the way they did, but it's not sustainable. We said it. You can maybe sneak a game out, but you can't win a series playing that style of basketball.
Well, you can't. They didn't adjust to what people were doing. Look, when teams are playing zones against you, why do you play zone against somebody? Because they're better than you. They're more talented. You can't match up with them, so you play zones. That's why.
Yeah, I mean they played zone all year though, so it wasn't just for the series.
Do when you can't match up. When you have people on the court that can't match up, and you're outmanned, you play zone.
Yeah. Plus, before this series, Bobby, they didn't really use it much.
No, they used it more than anyone all year, and
during the season though, when the playoffs.
Watch LeBron carve up that zone.
This is why you play zone. You play zone when you can't match up with teams. Okay, the Celtics still had the better top end talent. Again, Gordon not being right hurt them. So it's all you're going to look at it and say, feel like the Celtics were better, but they didn't play better. Miami played better. Miami deserved to win the series. There's no question about it. No question about it.
The Celtics' underperformance went back to the Toronto series too, and we still look at it. They won like this over Toronto.
We left that series angry with the Celtics for how they played.
Yeah,
it was like that. They deserved to lose that because they tried so hard to let Toronto climb back into every game.
Yeah.
John,
so again,
back to what you said.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Goes back to what you said about roles and the lack of a defined role. When you think about Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart even, I mean, these are guys that score in a lot of the same ways. They're all, trying to they all have the right intentions in mind, but they're all trying to be the guy, I think, at certain points in the game. There isn't a clear, maybe that's partially Jason Tatum's fault for not really elevating himself past all the rest of his teammates, but there wasn't really a clear alpha in this team. And I think that allows everyone to sort of say, well, I guess I'll try to be the guy this in this possession. You know what I mean? So whereas the Heat felt like their roles were a little bit more defined. And I think that came back and killed the Celtics. Too many guys in the same sort of level, I guess you could say, and no one's taking over.
I'm looking at Twitter. Jeff Goodman. Didn't take long. We already have a Brad Stevens account. Incredible.
Well, I'm sure that exists.
Actually, I'm not surprised.
The only difference is this just usually happens in May. It's
people September, who are going to get criticized tomorrow. 3 people from this game.
Smart.
Brad Stevens, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum.
Yeah. And you know what?
Maybe in that order.
Brown won't catch a bunch of flack, but you look at the series. He was phenomenal.
Brown was their best player consistently.
Brown
50% push from 3, 50% push from the field, steady scoring, steady defense.
My only complaint with Brown is I wanted him to be more aggressive at points. I wanted him to maybe be more demonstrative, maybe be more louder in the huddle, demand the ball more, take control of the game more. And because he, to me, was the guy that was, like you guys just said, most consistent, the guy that was scoring in a multitude of ways and defending, hard on the other end. So he wasn't just going down there looking for an easy 3-point shot, and he was physically able to match up with a lot of these guys better on both ends. So that's my only complaint about Brown, but I'm not going to bash him for it.
Yeah, Smart's going to catch it because you live with it, you die with it, like Bobby said earlier. That's the Marcus Smart experience.
Shots,
it is what it is.
Threes.
It's always going to be there. But the thing is, I feel like you could get the good and eliminate some of the. Like, to me, let's use a cross sport analogy. Brad Marchand, who actually has considerably more skill for his particular.
Dude, yeah, Marchand's way better.
If everyone viewed him as you take the good, you take the bad. But if you just weed the bad out and all that's left is the good, you realize what a terrific player this guy is. Like Marcus Smart, if he just eliminates stupid shit, you can't be a leader and a veteran presence and do so much dumb shit all the time. You've got to be more in control. I feel like he could still harness that energy and the killer instinct and diving on courts and cobra strikes and doing all of these things and being Marcus Smart and taking charges without doing dumb shit all the time.
And I think that's the difference
between. Like you doing this during the season, though? I don't feel like we saw it during the regular season. It's almost been like exclusively throughout the postseason.
I think it's
always kind of been his MO. Yeah, it's always kind of been his MO.
Yeah, but he's improved his shot selection compared to last season. Last season was a nightmare.
Marcus Smart is an extremely valuable member of the Celtics. You would just like to eliminate some of the things that make him a frustrating,
And that's the difference between Marchand and Smart, is that Marchand over the years has eliminated a lot of those negatives, and he's become one of the best players in the NHL and the best lines in hockey. Yeah. So Marcus Smart hasn't been able to do that yet. Now, he still has time to, but like John said, he's a little bit more of a wild card, and his MO is kind of you take the good with the bad with Marcus. You obviously what he gives you on defense is great, but he's going to make some highly questionable shots and some stupid turnovers here and there.
Brad's going to get it right or wrong for the stuff we've talked about, which is if you are perceived as the team with more talent and you lose, then you're going to look around and say why. And that's going to happen. And I know people are going to make their arguments, which is totally fine. But you don't know how a team responds to what, or you don't know what a team needs. You know that Brad's a terrific coach, a guy he's a good communicator to his team. They trust him. He trusts his players. There's all these great things. He's a brilliant basketball mind, but you don't know what each group of people needs or responds to best. You just know what you know with Brad. So there's always that unknown. People are going to take a grass is greener mentality, right or wrong, and Brad's going to catch shit because they had more talent and should be probably playing in the finals right now, and they're not. And that's that. Yep. So again, I don't know if it's fair. And to me, Bobby, it doesn't have to do with whether or not you can get somebody better. It just gets to do with, do you need somebody else to take them to another level, or is it just a maturity thing? And eventually 2 years from now, they won't be doing this shit because they're still young and we're not, giving that enough credit. The fact that Brown and Tatum are still young and early in their development, and 2 years from now, things like that, or with a better supporting cast or with a better bench, these aren't issues that they're having. It's very
put yourself in his shoes, John, at the end there, and your options just get more and more limited at the end of that game. He didn't know what to do. He's like, should I do? And he made the right move. He said, I have my 5 best players in my hand right now. Let's just put them out there and see what happens. And it absolutely melted down. There's no adjustment he could make there. There's nothing he could tell them. It just came down to those 5 guys on the court being unable to execute and even communicate together. You don't see a lot of communication between those 5. It's so concerning.
Here's the thing. Who's to blame for 45 threes? Okay? I'm saying is if it's proven that one thing worked, but again, I'm not trying to be like Mr. hard ass coach here, okay? But if your mentality prior to the game is be aggressive, don't settle, take it to the hole, and then in the first 5 minutes of a game, you watch guys jack threes, and then you leave them in there, and then you put them back in the game, and they jack more threes. What are you doing at that point? Are you doing anything to stop it? That's what I mean. Is if you don't like it, stop it. Call a timeout immediately. First 3 shots of the game are threes. Nope. Nope, not what we talked about on the bench. What are we doing here?
But
coaches
Brad
can
never
do that.
says that.
You can still be Brad and do all the good Brad things and still do that if you see it going the wrong direction. I don't know what but I don't know. I don't know what they're.
I honestly think Brad is okay with those 3-pointers. Statistically speaking, Bobby Manning can probably break down the numbers on that, but Brad's always saying, they were good shots, like they were open shots.
They're open, they are open. Yeah,
right.
So you can't.
So he's willing to let these guys just hoist open shots, even if they're not feeling it. And, we've certainly watched players go 0 for 8, 2 for 10 behind the arc, and Brad's completely fine with it because they were good, open shots. But that's just who he is. Now, it certainly has come back to bite them before. I'm sure there's games where players have shot themselves out of a slump because Brad's okay with it. But, yeah, you're right, John. I mean, the last few games, the Celtics have started the game the same exact way, just chucking threes and missing.
It's not the quality of the shot. It's what do you want to see happen here? Again, you've seen that when you play aggressive and you take it to them and you take it to the basket, and you're working the ball, and those are the better games,
let's look at Jay Crowder, because this guy went down to 17% from 3 in the series over the last 5 games, and he still managed to hurt you over the last 2 games with those incredible cuts. This Heat team, I've never seen a team cut like them. They are just constantly moving. The shooters are all over the place. And when you see the Celtics,
I don't care about the Heat anymore, Bobby. We're dissecting.
Well, I'm comparing them to the Celtics, where the Celtics,
the Heat,
they don't move as well. They don't cut as well.
You're right. They kill them on the cuts.
When you don't do those 2 things, your threes aren't in rhythm. Yeah. Like the problem with a lot of these threes, it's not the sheer number of threes. It's the amount of threes that they just walk into, like 3-4 seconds into the possession. Those are just. You talk about the percentages; those aren't good percentage shots for anybody. Like the defense is right on you; they're not being forced to contest or drive quick, and it's just you don't have balance, you don't have rhythm going into those shots. You got to do stuff to create those shots. You can shoot 100 threes if they're in rhythm, if they're created well, if they're open. So many of the Celtics aren't. They're just threes for the sake of getting threes up there.
I just feel like it's always been about the defense, though. Like, that's always been the MO for these Celtics teams, whether there was the underachieving Celtics teams of the early Brad Stevens era, or whether it was the ones that, was without Kyrie and Hayward and still managed to be a quarter away from the NBA Finals. Like, it's always been about the defense. And the Miami Heat is sort of a good example. Bobby brings up what they do on offense. Well, it's the defense that triggers it. And look, I know the Celtics don't have Bam Adebayo, but he makes things a whole lot easier. And I think the Celtics,
he's so good.
I think the Celtics had enough talent to get to the NBA Finals. Like, let's face it, I'm not saying that they needed someone like Bam, but defensively, I mean, whether it was the foul trouble or whether it was guys getting caught up in the switches and being exposed on defense, they just didn't look as strong as they did during the regular season. I mean, Gordon Hayward does have a lot to do with that. When he went down, this team sort of had to change their identity a bit, and they were still sort of searching for their new selves, so to speak, I guess. But when a team like the Miami Heat that's just all about grit and effort, and those kind of guys are going to put forth the kind of defense that are going to really rattle you, that's what happens. And that's what happens with a team that mentally looked like they were just out-hustled. I'm not even talking about the fight that happened at the game, too. I just mean in general. It looked like these guys just – they didn't have each other's back.
I don't disagree, Josue, but I mean, while the Heat have the grit and the energy and they play defense and this and that, I mean, there were guys on the floor that were mismatches all game if the Celtics wanted to attack them.
Duncan Robinson?
Yeah, I mean,
he's like the only one.
Dragic, Robinson, and Hero play big minutes. You should be. You got to be exploiting those guys.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, everyone can guard on that team besides Hero and Robinson.
Hero, Dragic, and Robinson are easy pickings to go at these guys.
Motivated Dragic is different. He's been so motivated since they got to the bubble because they
Hero too. Do you remember that?
And he was averaging 20 points before the series started. Man, these guys are talented. They're good.
But they're good offensive players. But I'm saying defensively, the Celtics.
Robinson, you're right. Hero's a little tough. You remember that possession where he had Kemba all the way through? They kicked it out, and then he got back and hit the 3 over him. Like he challenges them. And when you're in a zone, it's a unit. It's a little tougher to go at guys individually. You got to have good offensive sense to do it. And that's where Cantor came in good in this series. They were able to get him in positions where he could destroy individual matchups. It's just his minutes weren't sustainable, and that's another weakness of the team.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Bobby, a couple bodies here, like a James Posey type of guy, like makes all the difference, Just a guy you can bring
Andre Iguodala.
If you could combine Rob, Ennis, and Grant into
I was thinking Crowder.
Well, like a Crowder type
Yeah.
would be perfect. You needed a guy
right.
like that, you know?
They gotta find it. Forget the draft, because the draft, they've already had brought in too many young guys, and we see the impact of the ups and downs of a rookie, especially a late round rookie. They have to find a good veteran minimum, or the type of signing that they used to get Cantor this summer. Be interesting to see if Cantor opts in too, because he's going to have that option. That's a roster space they could use. I'm kind of 50-50 on whether I want that.
Wow. You don't want to see Cantor next year for the Celtics?
No, it's so limited, Joe Sway. Like, he's great. I love him. I wouldn't hate seeing him back. But
You need
certain
that board, though, man.
You don't
gotta-
need any of that.
Keep him. Man. I think the
He went-
Celtics, you want to keep these picks.
7 straight games against Toronto, he couldn't play a minute. That's tough.
I mean, I know he wasn't. He was relatively healthier than he's been in a while, but I still want to see these guys at full strength. Williams, both Williamses and Cantor. Just one more year. Oh, excuse me, Tice.
Also, checks notes.
Keep those
Carson
bigs and see what
Edwards.
happens.
Carson
One more.
Edwards. Carson
Carson
Edwards.
What about it?
Has a big off season. We'll see him.
We'll never know. We'll never know how the series
Big
is gonna
off
change.
season for Mr. Short Shorts. You know,
That's a tough thing too. How much work
he
are
can
these
get
guys?
in there.
How much work will these guys seriously be able to get in over an off season like this? It's another thing you have to consider.
Nothing's rest.
They're gonna have
Well,
They played a
more
lot.
than enough time.
What-
I don't know.
you know,
I wouldn't be
what-
surprised if it starts till February or whatever.
I see February makes sense. Let's go back to Tatum real quick.
No, it'll be before February. Go
As
on.
you mentioned, he's going to catch a little flack here for slow starts, for not, closing the way he should have. But his numbers over the course of the playoffs are gonna read like 26 double-digit rebounds and 5 or 6 assists per game over the course of 3 rounds. His numbers are going to look for the entire playoffs. His numbers actually put him in fairly elite company in terms of what he was able to do. I don't know how much of what the criticism is based off of expectations or the unrealistic expectations he set for himself by going bananas there for that 2-month stretch, around the All-Star break. So I just don't know if it's fair or not fair. You look at it because you want it to be that way, but it just might not be that way yet for him. So I just don't know. I'm very conflicted on whether Tatum deserves, to get beat up, over this. Right or wrong, he's the guy you look to in these situations. It's still really early in his career, and overall, how much more are you expecting him to do?
No, and
Right.
I mean, I agree with you, John, in that sense. I think the age is a factor, right? Maybe he's just not quite at that point yet in his career where he can sort of take on that load. If you want to just look at the stats and you didn't watch any of the games, sure, he put up great numbers and it looks like he had nice all-around games. He had like 8 assists in the first half of this game and ended up with 11.
Right.
But I think when you watch the games, you say this guy is just, he goes for really long stretches without giving you enough on offense. And if you're looking to him to be your go-to guy like he was prior to this break that we all went on, then yeah, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. I mean, should this, I'm certainly not going to be like trade Tatum, like this guy's a bum. Like that makes no sense at all. I mean, he's 22. He still has the world in front of him and he's going to only get better, but he does deserve some criticism for, I think, some of the stretches that he sort of did disappear, especially in the beginnings of these games.
Yeah, I felt like he had to give out the ball up through certain stretches of the game out of necessity because of the turnovers, because of them needing to get ball control from other sources, whether it be a Hayward, whether it be a Smart or a Kemba. So that's a limitation for him right now. When he did get the ball and have that point guard duty, the efficiency with which he produced points was unfathomable this year. You think of 24 points and 11 assists, that's like half your offense for a night. And for a guy who was just a post-up isolation guy in college, the ascent from that is at 22 is unreal. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to kill him for this, but his limitations are part of the team's limitations and what capped them from getting to the finals this year. I think what you like out of this year
Which
for him
limitation specifically, Bobby?
as a ball handler, because ultimately you want him to be your ball handler all game long like LeBron James at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's not ready for it yet, but this is the first year he's doing it.
But
He's
again,
shown
the
improvement.
leaps. Go ahead,
That's an
Jose.
important part of this game for sure.
Yeah. The leaps he's made in the defense, which we've all talked about. The line that Jason Tatum is an underrated defensive player is said so often that now he's almost overrated because
He's a top 10 player at this point. There's no debate.
his defense is legit, both
You could debate that.
both team and individual. Okay, and the passing and the playmaking hit a new level too. It's almost like, I don't. This is a weird comparison, but like LeBron was so good at everything in the early stages of his career. It's almost like he didn't know what to do at that moment. Like I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do that. Which one of these things should I do of all my many gifts? Tatum's almost kind of there with that, which is like, I can just take the ball and just dribble the hell out of it and shoot and probably score a ton. I could try to drive. I could try to I think deciding what to do is sometimes, where he's conflicted, because it's the live by the sword, die by the sword sort of thing. Sometimes you just need him to just do whatever the hell you want to do, but you're trying to play within a team construct. Go ahead, Jimmy.
The difference between LeBron and Tatum, I think maybe in the earlier careers or just even throughout, is that LeBron wouldn't force as many outside shots. LeBron's only knock, right, is that his outside shot has probably been the worst part of his game, right? And his physicality, he's used that from day one to bully his way to the hoop and drive to the hoop and get guys in foul trouble. And that's what I think we all want to see Tatum do more, because we see it in spurts. We see it in flashes. He'll make an amazing move to the rim and make the finish look so easily. And you're like, why is he instead like dribbling at the top of the key and like forcing a step back 3-pointer with a guy right on him and missing wildly? And that's what LeBron has gotten away from. And that's why LeBron is, 1 or 2 all time, is because he plays to his strengths.
Yeah. But Tatum, you want him to be this. You want during the game, you look for his shot when it's there, involve other people, do all of the other things that he does. But late in the game, I just want the ball in his hands, and I know it's live by it and die by it, but he's just got to demand it and then get buckets and then go to the basket and take over games. And that's what he's got to have to do.
He gets caught. He gets caught in his own head. I think that's a really good point and good observation, and also a good comparison. But what's the biggest difference between those two, right? Those LeBron teams, did he have a Jaylen Brown next to him? Was Larry Hughes equivalent to Jaylen Brown, or Eric Snow? Was he equivalent to Kemba Walker?
It's tough.
It's a much more talented team, right?
You want it both ways, right? You want it both ways.
Wow, Eric Snow. We got Eric.
Well, the
Snow
good thing
now.
is those guys
with the NBA Finals of that team, right?
You want those and involve those guys, and when he's taking all the shots, you're like, dude, share the ball. But then you also want to. It's really hard. That's what I mean. Is the demand and expectation is for him to almost be infallible, which is why I found myself criticizing him and then thinking like, how much better is he going to do? It's not perfect, but like he's doing so much so well.
Well, the thing about this
that were frustrating.
Yeah,
the thing about this year, it was the perfect team to accommodate his growth. He had all these centers setting great screens for him, all these different ball handlers that could help him out when he was struggling on the ball, and even create for him because he's a great catch and shoot player too. Eventually, though, you do want him to grow that spot where he needs less of that ball handling help, where he can effectively secure the ball for much more longer stretches of the game. Because if he did that this year, it would have gone bad. If he had the ball for 80% of these games, they wouldn't have made it as far as they did, because he did kind of need to be off sometimes, on sometimes, make the best of those two different situations. So for this year, it was good. Now it's like, what's the next step going to be? And this falls into that hierarchy conversation that you guys have all mentioned. It's very clear that he can be the number one on this team, and I don't think anyone else on the team would have any question of that because he's so good. He just needs to have the consistency to be able to do it.
Agreed.
Yep. It's
growing pains.
It is, and I had a friend say, where does this team even go from here? I'm like, dude, you pretty much bring majority of everything that matters back. Yeah.
Next year you get everything back, so that's huge.
You run it back, and then for the love of God, if you put Gordon in friggin' bubble wrap and get through a goddamn year,
So he opts in.
Yeah,
kind of.
No question.
He opts in.
He could go to Cleveland, Atlanta, or New York. So he's opting in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's your your best 5 guys, right, are back. And, you know, I think what we
5
said is
guys,
that
right.
they do need a veteran. They need another veteran off the bench. They need a guy that's going to give you Andre Iguodala minutes and shots, and or Jay Crowder type. Not that much, even less than that, because Crowder is, you know, a pretty key part of that team. But you need to have a couple of vets. I mean, any winning team does, you know, that wants to go to that next level. And maybe, you know, there's some vets watching this young team and saying, hey, you know what, I see an opening here. Sign me up. You know, I mean, that's how it happens, really.
I thought you were gonna say maybe there's some vets watching this post game show.
Oh, I know there are, but I don't know if that's going to affect their decision making or not.
Maybe.
But,
I mean,
yeah, you gotta find a guy
mean that they were in the league for a long time. Could be a former player that, you know, watches CLNS, huge fan.
yeah.
Wait,
but I mean, it's true though. You need to have some. We talked about the bench being a weak point on this team, and they were, and that's why Brad played some of these starters the minutes that he did, and that's why he was forced to play Gordon Hayward as much as he did. You know, maybe Gordon's more effective with playing 20 minutes and not playing 30 plus minutes each of those games. But when you look down the bench, you just kind of don't have those options that you need, like some of the other teams do.
I think Brad likes his team too much, though. That's the thing. You know,
we have to remember that prior to his first injury, Gordon Hayward was playing very close to foot injury Gordon Hayward basketball. I hate playing the what if game, and you get hurt, injuries are part of it. That's that. It is what Bam Adebayo broke his wrist apparently, and he scored 30 points. So,
right. Who would have thought?
There's my 22-year-old lesson. Me and Tatum learning.
No, but look, I mean, this stuff happened.
Bam was selling it too.
But
they wanted us to think that.
He kicked that. Yeah,
he played that one game. Hayward was the same guy. It's a different story. Here's let me quickly get something in. Brad Stevens on his message to the team after the loss.
My message, I think, was simple. I really appreciated the way that they played basketball all year. I really appreciated the way that they competed. I really appreciated the way they blocked out stuff that didn't matter. I really appreciated the way that they inspired with their voice while they were here and before. I appreciated the way that they empowered, all the different NBA employees that weren't here, including Celtics employees and, everybody else that benefited and from them putting everything they had into this. And then I appreciated the way they played and found joy and stayed together, and we had one, minor dust up, and it's pretty good for a calendar year with a group. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
He appreciated it. We lost Bobby.
Or maybe that was the problem. Much time together. Maybe they got
Bobby talked so we can figure out that Josue can't hear you, that Jimmy can't hear you.
Jimmy, you got me?
I can hear him.
I got Bobby. Yeah.
Josue, what were you saying? Josue, what were you saying?
No, I was saying I was responding to Brad Stevens talking about how it's been an entire calendar year where these guys spend too much. Maybe they spent too much time with each other. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe too much time by the pool and all that camaraderie. I don't know. I just think the bubble was tough on some teams, but the Celtics, they missed a golden opportunity here. I mean,
it's true. These guys are playing together.
Sort of the ideal path to the finals, and they fell short against a team that just outplayed them. Yeah,
and that's the thing is, like, I'm not even mad. It's a bummer that they missed it. Like they flat out got outplayed. So you, as Jimmy said, you roll it back, you run it back, same cast pretty much.
Just gets a little tougher next year with Brooklyn, with Milwaukee, with Miami.
Oh, I can't wait for Brooklyn.
You really think Brooklyn's gonna materialize?
I don't care. It's just great stuff.
No, yeah, exactly. I don't care how it plays out. Give me the popcorn. It's gonna be entertaining.
I can't wait, but I'm not scared of.
No, I'm just saying about the opportunity because
it's tougher.
Yeah, it's tougher next year.
I just mean you look. You want to see how good these guys can get. This is the ball game, right?
Yeah.
You're either going to either Jalen and Jason are going to be the best two-player duo in the league, and the Celtics will be perennial title contenders, or they'll plateau a little bit short of that, and they'll be good and possibly get to that next level with an elite supporting cast, which they're not far from having. With if Kemba and Gordon are supporting players to a superstar tandem, and then you fill in your Iguodala pieces around it, you're a perennial title contender. Okay? Right. So the ascension just you got to see that next level and that next level. Again, we take for granted that Tatum took a massive mid-year leap this year, and Jalen felt like he took 2 from last year to this year, and then another during the year. Okay? So
in the bubble,
that's a big, so they take another step into the next season, and they're doing things like whatever it is that we're criticizing them for not doing enough of now, they're doing it all next year. And then the year after that, it just keeps getting better. It's like, that's what we're not fully appreciating is this isn't who they're going to be forever. If they keep growing, this team keeps going, regardless of how tough it gets,
Right.
And who knows what like Durant looks like coming back off of an Achilles and this and that. And, Kyrie off his 12th injury or whatever. I wish there was a longer offseason. I want to see Tatum come back a little jacked, just that the no offseason is a bit of a bummer because I do feel like who you're going to see at the beginning of next year is very much the same person you saw at the end of
Pretty
this
much,
season.
right? There's not going to be elite, consistent training, especially for the younger guys. Like Tatum will get his, Brown will get his, Carson Edwards, who knows what kind of resources are going to be available to him over an offseason like this. So you do bank on Tatum, Brown, those kind of guys coming back a little better, but it's short and it's hectic. Like there's a lot more things going on in the world that these guys are going to be focusing on over this offseason too.
Plus also, right, you have everything going on in the world, and for the love of God, they've got to be fried. As you mentioned, 12 months together.
Oh, the vacation is on. Next week, you're going to see the pictures start flowing through on Instagram. It's vacation time, baby.
Imagine you're these guys. How little do you want to think about or play basketball for the next month?
Zero. They may not look at a basketball.
The bubble made LeBron say Disney's not a place for his family. That's how rough it was getting in there.
Yeah. I mean, John's right though. I mean, we've moved the goalposts considerably during the course of this season because when you go all the way back to the beginning, we never expected to be disappointed by not getting to the NBA Finals this year, right? When you consider everything that happened and the team getting together. Yeah. But based on how well these guys played and how much they improved, we said, well, wait a second. These guys actually have a legitimate chance of getting to the NBA Finals. They swept, they didn't sweep. Did they sweep the Sixers? It was so long ago.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they swept the Sixers. They swept the Sixers and it was like, oh, okay, that was easy. And then the Raptors were obviously difficult, but here they are playing against the Heat. Everyone thought they had a real chance, and that's why you're sitting here disappointed today. But
I will
go back
say,
to game
Miami,
one, and you're not.
Miami feels the same way we do about the Celtics, though, because they got Butler locked up. They got these incredible young players. Bam, this guy, think of the ceiling of it. We didn't even talk about the game Bam had. Some of that stuff he did in the fourth was mind-blowing. The behind-the-back pass to Iguodala, the jumper with Tice crashing through him. This guy, if he develops a three, he's going to be the best center in the league, barring none.
Oh, yeah.
So they're a problem.
They're well positioned.
They are. We said that. We said they're better positioned than the Raptors.
Yeah. Simply on this year, the reason we as Jimmy said, we moved the goalpost is because the Celtics' highest highs of the year made you believe that these guys can win it. That was why.
Miami wants Giannis too.
Well, who doesn't?
Look, you're Miami.
That's added
you're Miami. You got money. You're gonna get guys. So,
and I think that's gonna happen for sure.
That can happen.
But what's gonna happen when the young pup meets the big dog that's gonna be waiting for him in the finals, man? Bam versus Anthony Davis. I don't know.
It's gonna be a fun series.
I think he might get dominated in that matchup.
I got Lakers in 4 in that one. But if
I
you're looking,
dude, the Lakers have 2 players.
No, I like Lakers in 4.
I don't 5. Sleep on Miami in this. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I am.
Yes,
LeBron's going to do his. You really think LeBron's not going to get his title? You really think that?
I don't have a lot of love for the Lakers.
Dude,
I love LeBron.
LeBron will not be denied, and Anthony Davis will be. What?
Outside of Rondo, suspect, that bench.
And
they are. I've said that all year, though, and they
don't sleep on Caruso. Don't sleep on my boy Caruso.
Rondo among the pluses.
Oh, he's like in the big three.
Listen, Kuz hits big shots. Danny Green's been there, done that. I mean, they don't just say it's LeBron and AD. It's not. And even if it was, I still like the Lakers' chances because who's going to stop LeBron on the Heat?
Butler's going to be on him.
Butler's
going to do his best.
But fine, let him. But LeBron, based on what I've seen over the last few
and
weeks,
he's got to go against
this guy's a man on a mission.
We report Butler throughout the series, but we saw tonight when he needs to turn it on, he's capable of doing it, and he did a phenomenal job leading the team on both ends of the floor. That guy can hold his own. Bam will definitely be able to hold his own against Davis. This is a closer series than people are going to give it credit.
None of you guys are going to take the Heat, so stop acting like you're going to take the Heat.
Fine, I'm taking the Heat.
None of you. You're not.
I don't know, man.
Foolish.
Not only that, I'm taking the Heat in less than 7.
No.
I'm not doing that.
I'll bet you.
That's just crazy, man. Come on. I'm not doing that.
With you.
Oh, man, does LeBron look dangerous, though? Did you see him at the end of Game 5?
Yes, he took over. He absolutely took over.
That was bad man stuff there. The Heat are going to have their hands full for sure. I'll give it to you, Jimmy.
Heat in 5.
The Nuggets, they came back from 3-1 twice. So LeBron, you got an extra motivated LeBron. But I'm with you. I was impressed. But you know what? Talking about the supporting cast, though, that was the one game where I said, okay, the bench, they sort of put that one together the way they did. But I haven't seen consistency from that second unit, man, the Lakers bench.
He got to find some answers, too. Iguodala was good tonight. He's been on and off here.
Yeah, where did that come from? Imagine Iguodala. Imagine that one shows up in the finals.
Now, they'll need that guy against LeBron. He's going to have to fill in some minutes there. I hope he better get rejuvenated by Wednesday. Quick turnaround to the finals.
The Celtics next year might find themselves in under the radar position, believe it or not, because you're going to get think about it. You're going to have not under the radar like no one's thinking they're real, but like there's not. I don't see like a drama surrounding them like I see like Milwaukee's drama is going to be all about Giannis and his last year and all the trade rumors and whether or not he's going to commit to staying. That's going to get to them. And if the Raptors are tied to that, that might get to them over there too. You already know there's going to be drama in Brooklyn with Kyrie and Durant because it's not just going to click right off the bat between those two. Kyrie might find out that he's the number 2 behind Durant. Durant might, who knows, get frustrated with those two guys. I want to see them play together before I call Brooklyn a legit contender. And then the Celtics are just, and the Heat are going to have a target on their back as the Eastern Conference champs. Celtics are just going to kind of do their thing. I still think they need some. Pacers, sure.
Can we just agree that the Celtics are going to take picks 14, 26, and 30, package them, and move up even one slot? Can we just agree now?
Okay. Why would they do that? They've never been able to do that
last year, John. What happened?
No, they can't do it. No.
Just please. You know why? Because I can't
Someone doesn't want a G League championship, man.
I can't deal with the hype that's going to accompany whoever they pick at pick 30 or 46. Okay, I can't deal with steal of the draft stuff. I just can't. I'm already mad about it.
Oh well, you don't like that, John. Wait till you get the next what do they call it? Draft and stash icon. You're going to be watching. You're going to be watching clips out of China all year long.
That's the thing. They don't need any more.
Just get one guy. Okay.
They're going to draft and stash for sure.
Take your top pick. Keep it.
Take one guy. Find one guy.
What are they, 14 again or something
14
like that?
again, 26, 30, and then a second rounder. I think
get ready for the draft and stash with those 2 late ones. But they could find a decent – I hear this is a role player draft, which is honestly what they need.
Oh, great. Just what they need, another rookie.
They don't need another star. They have their stars. They got to find the right role player, though.
What's wrong with stars?
I'll take a star, Bobby. I mean, I don't know. Call me crazy.
Who have they ever?
They need a star in the making. I don't need a star to be a star right off the bat.
What do you need for real? If you could pick one guy who you could count on to play to play 6 through 8 rotation minutes, 15 to 20 a game, what position do you think they need the most?
Oh, four like Grant, 4-5 type guy, like Jeremy Grant out there in Denver. He'd be so perfect for this team. I haven't dove deep into the draft, but that's the kind of guy they need.
Type of guy.
Yep. Oh, that draft last year screwed you so bad. It did. Oh, what a disaster last year's draft was, and it's so hard to get the returns you want in year one. What Memphis did was unfathomable, but.
Crazy that they did that.
Celtics were the opposite end.
What about a point guard?
They could use one. Wanamaker might be They'll probably bring back Wanamaker, but they could use one
bring
for
back
sure.
Wanamaker and get Tremont some minutes. I like Tremont.
No, they could use another guy there though, because
Boy.
Wanamaker wasn't always
Please.
This is
reliable.
getting me upset. This is
I
getting me
can't.
upset.
I don't know why I started. I don't know why I went down this rabbit hole.
Why did you do that?
I'm mad already.
I
I'm mad.
know.
I'm going to play Jason Tatum. Here's Jason Tatum talking about whether the team needs to get tougher.
Jason, do you guys need to get tougher?
We need to get tougher. Nah, we don't need to get tougher. I mean, it's just kind of unfortunate. You know, some leads we gave up, some missed shots. You know, every game was close. To get tougher, nah, we don't need to get tougher.
That's a funny answer to me.
So the guy wearing a shirt that you'd see on a 5-year-old.
What's
I'll be
wrong with
honest.
getting tougher? I mean,
I couldn't hear it. What did he say?
There's nothing wrong with getting tougher. You just view it as an indictment on your character.
no.
you know?
Imagine if Jimmy. What if I asked you, Jimmy?
Take that personal.
Jimmy, do you want to get healthier? I mean, you're probably not the most unhealthy guy ever, but you know, you always want to get a little healthier.
Yeah, if you ask Jimmy that after a freaking heart attack, yeah.
Could
Like,
I hit the gym a few more?
Like, do you need to get tougher after you just blew the freaking game? Like,
Hey, after blowing your 10th fourth quarter lead of the playoffs, do you need to get tougher? Nah.
no, we're good.
Oh, what a
Joe,
weird response.
What did he say?
I, like
I couldn't hear
I
it.
don't like that at all.
He said they asked him if they want to get they need to get tougher, and he said no.
He said tougher? The way he asked, too. Gary's like, yeah. Gary Washburn asked. He's like, yeah, tougher.
Oh, it's Gary?
Yeah. He goes, nah. Things just happen.
I think the answer is yes. They were clearly not the tougher team in this series, and probably not a tougher team in the Toronto series either.
So that's what happens in situations like that.
I can't believe he said that.
You know, that always it starts with one person. Like, you have to be the tough guy, and then everyone else has to do the same thing. I think a lot of times people are kind of like looking for someone else to take the lead on stuff, you know?
That's Jaylen Brown. Like, you nailed it right there. That's Jaylen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And when he gets his touches, you know, or when he gets his, you know, big bang play and everyone's around him, he has that look in his face like, I told y'all, like, you know, I can do this. Trust me more often. But he's not going to be vocal enough to say, hey, you know, I need the ball, or hey, you know, look out for me on this or that, you know. And how many times on the defensive end he's getting not reamed out, but sometimes he has to get it corrected. Hey, Jay,
like,
should have done this, should have done that.
Yeah, you got help over here, and he's like,
it happened tonight.
And it's kind of like
getting into him,
right? But
Yeah,
it's up to each person, you know. And I think they do a lot of that. Where like, come, you know. Get us going, guy. You know,
that's the biggest question.
The OG play against Toronto.
That's the biggest question in the hierarchy. Honestly, you need to find a way to make sure Brown's the number 2 option every single night, and part of it sorts itself out when Hayward's in the starting lineup because he's going to make that happen more readily than Marcus Smart. But we saw with the Celtics team all year, and we don't consider this as much now because it was so long ago. But they weren't healthy all year long from like opening night until the shutdown. They always had a piece open. So Marcus Smart was always in that starting lineup.
So that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Bobby. I just want to get this out real quick just to piggyback on that. That's a conversation for him and Kemba. Let's face it. Kemba's got to – if that's the way things need to go moving forward, it's got to be Kemba to sort of say, okay, you know what? Jaylen, you're the guy. You know, if we're going to go there, I think that's
tough for Kemba too.
That needs to happen. That's exactly what happened in Miami, for example, between LeBron and Dwayne Wade. It took Dwayne Wade to go to LeBron and say, hey, look, you need to be number 1. I'm number 2. Yeah. So is Kemba going to do that, though? How many years does this guy have?
I think Kemba's fine with it. The thing I wanted to piggyback off Bobby's point is that's something that one of the reasons Smart might have been maddening this year was because of that situation where being put into that starting lineup, and it's fine when Smart is being aggressive offensively in the second unit because you need some people to step up there when he's running with the bench. But it's not as acceptable when he's doing it when Tatum and Brown and Kemba are on the floor. And you're like, why are you shooting? Like, look at all these guys around you, you know, like, and you're right. Hayward would be more deferential, and then he'd look for his when it came his way. But you're right. That ensures that those guys would get more touches. But we said it early in the series, like, we want the offense to run through Tatum and Brown, and everyone else gets whatever's left over, gets the crumbs. But those guys have to be the focal points.
but it's tough because Kemba, a lot of what he does
He
is
needs the ball.
With
and
the ball,
Brown's
and
better
Taylor,
off
too.
the ball, so it kind of falls into place. Like Brown became the best corner 3-point shooter this year, so
Yep.
it's gonna be. And Kemba's not a good off-ball shooter, so like
Smart
it's gonna
goes
be
back-
really hard to switch those two.
Jalen needs another level. Jalen's he's still only an okay shot creator. He's great in transition. He's great on those catch and shoot threes in the corner.
His dribbling got much better this
and-
year, though.
And it got better this year. It needs to get one level better. And early this year, he was breaking guys down off the dribble very aggressively. I felt like he lost that a little bit as time went on. He would
lose control of the ball.
He was making better moves, or he was sharper pre-lockout in terms of his moves. He was fast as hell. He was beating guys on one step to the basket.
Yeah, because he's
He was
amazing in
breaking
transition.
guys down off the dribble.
Yeah.
That he wasn't doing that as frequently here in the bubble. So he needs to take that handle up another notch to feel more comfortable with the ball in his hands and let the physical tools take over.
So Marcus goes back to the bench and Hayward
Yep.
starts.
Yeah,
You think it's that simple? You think it's that easy?
that's what they did all year when they were healthy.
Talking
I know,
Marcus
but
about that?
Marcus Smart got.
How would you feel about a
minutes
real
here.
center?
I'm fine with Tice.
I would feel good about that because at the end of the day, you're going
I'm
to
not
need
playing
to beat
that
some
game.
teams
I hate that.
with real centers though. But you need more
No.
size.
Don't touch the bigs, man. I'm telling you.
Just
one
need
more
more
year with
size.
these
Someone who's
guys.
not 6'8" and fouls everybody. I like Tice too, but I like him as a role player better than a starter. I like
Yeah,
him.
but you like
Robert
us-
Williams
you like-
the starter or
I
Grant?
like him at 15 to 18 minutes, not 25.
No,
to
that's the key. Robert Williams needs to come back next year, being a guy who plays
Different.
24 minutes every game, not
That's
a guy
what I
who
mean.
did not play.
They need to
Yeah.
split that time at the
way
five.
too many Tice minutes. Way too many Tice minutes
many.
that you're relying on him because you had nobody you could
Does
trust.
do any of us trust Williams though to get there?
No, because he's a knucklehead.
So does that player come in the offseason free agent acquisition?
I trust Rob
veteran?
a little bit. I trust
No.
Rob a little bit.
Mm-mm.
But you don't
Yeah, I
trust
don't
him
think
enough
so.
for him to be your starting center or a guy who's giving you.
No,
25
he doesn't. He doesn't need to be a starter. He needs to be. He needs to play every game. He needs to
25
split
minutes,
time
I'm
with
saying.
Tice. Yeah, that's where he
Yeah,
needs to be
he-
next
Brad
year.
needs to be good enough to not have Brad knock him out of the rotation.
Oh, Brad.
second half.
Remember the quote? I thought Brad was going to pull me when he did the tomahawk dunk. Those guys, they're not on the same page, it seems like. And that's why he's the Time Lord.
That's why he's a Time Lord. We should
Some
end
of
the
the
show
other-
on that. We should end the show on that line. And that's why he's the Time Lord.
Oh, I love him, though.
Click.
You see the tools. Like, oh,
Bye, we're
See you
up.
next year.
you want to buy all the way into him because if he figured it out, if he claimed that starting spot, how that would complete the team. That's exactly what they need.
Yes, you want to see it.
You want him.
Because
I-
you're going to end up playing the Heat again, and Bam's going to only be better. And if you ever do get a chance to get back to the NBA Finals and the Lakers are there, now you have AD. So, I mean, you need more than just a guy like
You need
Tice.
Rob Williams.
The Celtics
do.
they need to pair him with someone this offseason who can bring him to the next level, whether it's a trainer, whether it's a legend. Like, he needs some serious work on his game over the coming months. And
We'll get Max working with him.
Yeah.
You know
We
what,
do-
Tyson?
He needs to
We
move
do-
in with Max.
Rob,
we do a lot of things at this network,
Rob.
and I think we can pull the strings
I
there.
think we're going to lend Robert Williams, Cedric Maxwell in the offseason.
Joe Sway, can you talk to Max and find out if he's got an extra room for Rob?
That would be so Max. Next
Let's-
I don't know how
let's
much
do
peace
that.
is going to have with Rob, but I'll talk to him about it.
Let's have Rob move in with Max. We'll do a reality show this offseason.
Oh
Yes.
man, I think we can make that happen.
Max
Yo,
does
Rob
wake up
could
calls
learn a
every
lot
morning.
from Max. Rob could
great.
learn a lot.
Max
just
He
yells
had
at
that
him.
swagger. Max had that swagger that Rob could definitely use. Look good, feel good, play good type thing. Get a little
I just picture
confidence
Robert Williams
going.
walking in with like nice suits. Like,
If
Max,
Nick,
Yeah.
if Nick is watching right now, he's texting Max as we speak, trying to make this happen.
Oh yeah, we're only half joking right now. There's gonna be like at least a modest attempt to make this happen.
Yeah.
Rob
We're-
walks in, tells the team to get on his back. Tatum's looking at him like, nah, dude, like, we're good. We're good. That's your locker over in the corner. Have a seat.
You get on my back, though. Tatum's like, the game's tomorrow.
No, the game was yesterday. You're late.
You missed it. We lost.
There was a point in the playoffs where we said his emergence was a game changer for the team, and it just didn't last. And that Toronto series, he had some major, major flashes that didn't continue into this Miami one. It's too bad.
I feel like his minutes were positive every time. I don't know what it takes it's been perplexing all series long. Brad just couldn't take.
Well, he has 3 serious limitations. He stands there and does nothing on offense if he's not pick and roll, and
Nothing.
He doesn't.
Running.
He
But
doesn't.
that's not a bad thing.
He doesn't guard the pick and pop, which is huge these days.
Yeah.
And he doesn't rebound that well. He's like a 4 rebound per game guy.
Yeah.
So he's got to work on those things.
He's got to work on a lot of it. The offense doesn't bother me as much.
That drives me nuts.
Rim run,
His footwork, like whether it's boxing out or whether it's in coverage.
don't take threes all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need Time Lord. That's why he's.
So hey, So Patriots win today, Celtics lose, Bruins lose. Which of these 3 teams is most likely to win a championship?
Two teams had their seasons end today in Boston.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot about one of them.
2. Imagine if they announced Brad,
God.
the world would explode.
Talk radio.
Why do you say it like you kind of want to see it happen?
Go to
I
heaven.
don't.
Like you agree with it.
No, I don't agree with it at all.
It would never happen.
I think it's fair to question everything. I just don't like the suggestion of it to be greeted by a bunch of people calling other people idiots. Like, you don't know either.
Oh,
okay?
welcome to 2020.
So leave it alone. You don't know what somebody else would do and whether they'd be better either. So leave it there. We all like Brad. Everybody thinks Brad's a good coach. Okay? Any suggestion that he needs to be replaced is merely people saying, is he the guy to take them to the next level? They have a high ceiling. Is he the guy to take them there or not? That's all that's being said. Not that he's not a phenomenal basketball coach.
Basketball is so weird too. Like, how many teams have we seen, like the Cavaliers with David Blatt, where they just threw it to another guy and it somehow just kind of fell into place? Like coaching, we do kind of overemphasize coaching a little bit in basketball sometimes because when it sucks, it'll bring you down. But when you have the best of the best, it raises you, but to a limit. So coaching's a little funky with basketball in that way.
It can be, and different teams need different personalities. Like we always talk about, like, do we think Doc Rivers is anywhere on Brad Stevens' level in terms of coaching IQ? No, he's not. But Doc Rivers might be the right guy for certain teams versus Brad. You don't know that. That's
Kemba Walker. That relationship could be.
I have no idea.
He gets more out of Kemba than Brad would.
Right.
I get what you're saying. Those are two. Yeah.
It's different.
And next season's going to be important.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches and possibly being fired, Doc, like that one is, people can say what they want about Brad, but Doc Rivers still has his job. Like,
that's what happens when you have a team with talent and you don't reach your thing.
Right.
People question it.
Right, but also
they
even though
when
the expectations are sky high too, right? Like that's sort of been the Clippers. Yeah.
Doc's probably suffering from a poorly constructed team, much like Brad had. Like he said, Brad had great.
Almost the exact same situation.
Great 5 or 6 players. The problem, LA's players were actually probably mismatched, even regardless of their talent. The Celtics were not. They just didn't have enough in places.
Yeah,
that's true.
The Clippers had one two-way guy and a bunch of other one-way guys in a bunch of different directions, and they couldn't sort it out. They couldn't figure out their rotation.
Yeah,
between the what is it? Load management and guys getting legitimate injuries, they just didn't have a whole lot of time together. But I don't know. When Doc used that as an excuse, though, I was like, I don't know if that's. I wouldn't have led with that, Doc. Like, there's plenty of talent here and plenty of opportunity to close out the Nuggets in that series.
They had a weird season. They definitely did. Paul George's struggles were tough to explain. Some of the bench pieces disappearing the way they did late in the season. The whole Williams fiasco. Montrezl Harrell had that tragedy, which was tough. But things just fell apart in the strangest way for them late in the year. But them and the Celtics are both in a good position to run it back. Then all of a sudden you're going to hear the next season's the key for Stevens, for Rivers. Like that's going to be kind of make or break for those two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bob. I think I think we're gonna, one way or the other, Brad Stevens is it's almost like a make or break type season, because now the expectations are really there for the Celtics team, whereas they weren't as
Next year's like 2019 to some degree. It's going to feel like that going into it.
Yeah, and there's going to just be a lot of big games. Celtics, I know I said that they could sort of go under the radar, but they are going to have a target on their back, and there are going to be a lot of big games that they're going up against, whether it's East contenders or teams out West. And Brad Stevens has had more success with teams that have had less expectations, meaning he's been able to sort of get guys to play better than what they're expected to do. But now when the expectations are high, can you meet those expectations or exceed them to the point where, okay, you are going to the NBA Finals? Because this is now, next season, the Celtics are going to go into the season as an NBA Finals contender. I'm not saying they're going to be the favorite, but they're certainly going to be in the discussion.
Yeah, I'd say they'll be – we got to see how the rosters shake out, but they're 1 or 2 in the East, I'd say.
We'll see. There's a lot to this.
Yeah,
a
lot can change, but yeah.
A lot could change. But yeah,
they're going to be right there.
We got a lot of time to unpack the offseason, and we'll see how things go. We don't even know how long it's going to be. But I mean, you're gonna pivot to draft really freaking fast. Go ahead, Jimmy.
What I know is this. Based on what we can assume that the NBA does not want to play games with the NFL. So I think they're going to schedule that the NBA Finals end right before September, because they don't want to mess around. We know they don't want to mess around with football. We've seen that, right? We've seen that. So
I think football doesn't want NBA messing around with them, but that's
I don't think football gives a shit. I don't think football cares. I think the NBA will finish it up while football's in their preseason. So whatever they have to do to make that happen, I think that's what they'll do.
Yeah, the NFL never cares. We saw that this season as every player gets injured on every team.
Yeah,
that was tough last week. Yeah,
let's wrap it up, folks. We've got it was fun. It was a good run. Thanks for the people.
Oh, did we have fun? This show, man.
I know, that's why I'm sad, man.
Good times.
Yeah. Thank you for anybody who watched start to finish the entire run. Each show was with us every night, whether you hated us and want to just watch us just to troll us in the comments, or enjoyed any of the commentary, or are from Canada and have your new adopted son, Bobby, and just want to follow his career.
Prime Minister Manning.
You're all welcome here. And so it was good. It was fun. And we'll do a lot of this. I can't promise every game.
We're going to do it next season though, right?
Oh, we'll definitely get another Raptor series though. That'll be fun.
No, we'll do it. We'll do it during the year too, in some form or another. So we'll be back with these.
Brooklyn.
Much more stuff on our YouTube channel. Follow us, CLNS Media. All of these guys: Josue Pavone, Celtics writer for Heavy.com, Bobby Manning, Celtics blog, CLNS Media, Jimmy Toscano, the ubiquitous Jimmy Toscano, also CLNS Media contributor, longtime contributor. That's it. That's it for the season. Heat, take down the Celtics.
Great season, fun year. It's tough to end like this because you don't have too many positives coming out of it. But when you do look back on it, the stride Tatum took, Brown took, how many big games they won, the position they put themselves in. No one expected them to make it this far this year.
It was a good run. It was a long year. It was an amazing experiment in the bubble that the NBA, I think, absolute monstrous success. Gave us something that was real, that was fun, that we needed, that we could get behind. It was a big deal. It was the NBA did a phenomenal job, kind of got us all engaged and into this again. So hats off there. It was a ton of fun. We'll keep watching through the finals, Heat in 5.
Lakers in 4.
Just slide that in there.
I think
Hey, the Lakers are going to end up with the same amount of banners as the Celtics after this. How does that make you guys feel?
Yeah, and that's it. Done. We're done. Well, we got more coming up. We'll put a bow on it with some stuff for our YouTube channel. So please subscribe if you haven't already, guys. We'll say goodnight.
Smash it.
Hey.
Good night, guys.
Six final appearance for Iguodala. Get it done. Beat the Lakers. Come on.
I always love that.